like me and I meet that one dog that likes me for all and who I am, I'm going to be hanging out with the dog. But then the cats are going to be mad, right?
True.
So I totally get that.
People go where the love is. Honestly, I agree with you, Jen. I think where we have to be careful, and I think you could tell the difference.
Someone fetch me my apron. I feel good.
If you come with some unsolicited stuff, if you say I'm thirsty, to them you're telling them, yo, go get me something to drink. You may just say I'm thirsty, but to them they think you saying, oh, go get me something to drink, right? If she said you're hungry, like, nah, I'm just a little thirsty, baby. Oh, then it's different. We'll see that one. But normally I'm under the impression that, well, shit, you can't tell me nothing if it was solicited, right? We'll see. Y'all just got Jen another view. I'm going to watch that after this. Go ahead, yo. Do your thing, Jen.
What's up, Hanifah? What's up, everybody on the panel?
Hey,
Thank
Jen.
you.
What it do?
In the chat, I'm trying to respond to everybody. I love the topic. I love the topic, colorism versus preference, because it's a big deal. I've listened for like 5 minutes, and there are already some really good points being made. I wanted to touch on how I can relate to something, what Dennis Rodman said. I think that we find our tribe, right? We go where we're accepted and celebrated, not tolerated, right? And I'll give you an example. Yes, I'm Latina, but I am not the mainstream media promoted Latina, which is the light, the white skin and the dead hair, the Jennifer Lopez's, the Cameron Diaz, the Christina Aguilera's. I don't fit in that category. And when you're Puerto Rican, your relatives are literally from blonde and blue-eyed all the way to chocolate dark skin.
Carolina Fajardo.
Right? Loisa, right?
Loisa, yeah.
My dad is a brown-skinned man with an afro. He would look just regular black man if he walked past you. My mother was the stark opposite. So we have relatives of all shades, of all eye colors and everything. Now, even within that tribe, something similar to what Dennis Rodman said, I didn't feel comfortable in certain circles on my mother's side because I feel like we couldn't relate to each other, right? I mean, we don't even have the same hair products. We don't even use the same brushes, right? Like my mother did not know what to do with my hair. So what you do is you gravitate towards your tribe, people with similar interests, right? And it doesn't mean that you're denying, the other side of you or any side of you, but human nature causes you to go towards your tribe and people that you relate to. I'm a hip hop kid, born and raised in the Bronx, New York. My girlfriends were listening to freestyle. I didn't like freestyle. I'm a Bronx kid, right? And my mother had a lot of R&B and Motown in the living room. So you gravitate to where you're accepted and celebrated and where you feel you're most strong. So I get the Dennis Rodman thing. I get even the blurred thing where it's like a lot of guys are like, well, I like to do this and a lot of girls can't relate to this. So I went and found me a girl that can relate to this. It doesn't mean that you're turning your back on your tribe. It's human nature to go where you're accepted and celebrated. And I think that people don't understand how colorism, how prevalent it is in the Latin community. Because when people think Latin, they think white Latin. They think white Tino, what I call white Tina, instead of Latino and Latina, white Tina and white Tino. But Latins are so vast in color and culture, right? But people think Latin and it's not anyone's fault that when someone says Latin to you, you think Ricky Martin and Jennifer Lopez, because that's what they've been shoving down our throats for decades, right? You don't think Amara la Negra. Thank the universe, Amara la Negra, she's out now and she's popular, because I think she was a slap in the face to a lot of Latins that practice colorism and practice it harshly. Okay, Latins, we have the grandmothers that are like, adelantar la raza, right? That's an actual saying in the Latin community, which means to upgrade the race. Don't bring me somebody here that's darker than you. And this is said in Spanish. This is said in Spanish. So colorism is very, very prevalent in the Latin community. And the stream Mr. O and I had earlier, we got into race and colorism and what have you. And the answer is we have to be in those spaces. We have to be in those rooms, right, to make the changes. I'm a writer. I wrote a series that's all Afro-Latino cast. I will not cast anyone else. So we, as cliche and corny as it sounds, we have to be the change that we want to see. We can't ask people to let us in. We can't beg people. We can't cry. We can't bitch and moan. We have to be the change that we want to see. Period. That's how I do. That's how I do my changing of the world. I'm not begging to be let in. I'm going to get in. But it's not always that. Oh, I'm turning my back on this. It's just you're gonna go where you're celebrated. That's human nature. If I'm a cat, and the cats around me don't like me, and I meet that one dog that likes me for all and who I am, I'm going to be hanging out with the dog. But then the cats are going to be mad, right? True. So I totally get that. Totally.
People go where the love is. Honestly, I agree with you, Jen. I think where we have to be careful, and I think you could tell the difference where someone is choosing what they're choosing out of trauma, right, and bad experiences. When and I'm going to speak from a different angle because we tend to get on the black men here. But let's say you have a black woman and she's with a white man, right? When she feels the need to spit on black men every chance she gets, that lets me know what drove your decision. You get what I'm saying? You can go and you can be with a Caucasian solely out of he loves me, like that. I'm saying Dr. O. Dr. O. I might be prophesying. Mr. O was saying that.
Talk on it, man. Hey, talk on that one.
No, this is how she makes me feel, right? Yeah. Versus someone that's saying that anything that happened, this is why I'm not with black men. Black men ain't shit. Black men. So then that lets me know that your decision was made out of trauma. Trauma is what's driving your decision. And I think we're able to differentiate the two just by listening to how the person speak about their experience. You know what I'm saying? And there are those people who do that, where I know you're choosing that person because you are hurt by the people that look like you. You know what I mean? Now, there are those who not Dr. O, Mr. O have traveled the world, right? So if you're well traveled, you are being exposed to so many different cultures, right? And so you can tell a difference between somebody that has traveled and they just fell in love or, with another culture versus someone who deliberately went that way because they have a disdain for the culture that they come from. You could tell the difference by what they say. Yeah.
And also, I don't think that it's always, I think people should be allowed some grace. It's not always malicious, right? Mr. O and I discussed earlier, sometimes you have to ask yourself the hard question, why do I prefer this thing? Is it really because of me? Or is it because media told me this is the thing that I should like? What's being shoved down my throat daily? Is this really, because some people be like, oh no, it's just my preference, right? But sometimes you have to ask yourself, is it really your preference, or have people put something in front of you continuously making you think that that's your preference? And sometimes we have to pause and ask ourselves, why do I only date X, Y, and Z? Why do I only think this certain thing is attractive? So I recommend people pause and ask, do I like this? Because it's not always self-hate. It's not always malicious. It's not always, well, I'm over here because I don't like that over there, right? So you have to pause and ask yourself, why do I like this thing? Why am I here? Why do I believe in this thing? Why do I always eat this thing? Do I even like this, or has my mother been cooking it since I was little, right? Why do I believe in it such as this? So I think sometimes you have to ask yourself, but I echo Hanifah, it depends on you. You can tell if someone's always bashing a certain thing, then you could kind of tell, okay, you've had bad experiences over there and there's some unresolved issues that you're not dealing with and you're projecting.
There's always a lot of involuntarily programming going on in a lot of our upbringing. You got commercials at gas stations now, in elevators. Like, I know girls that don't watch sports will tell you the score because on their way to the bathroom in the morning, the TV was on. and they heard the Rockets beat the 76ers 119 to 108. Like, she don't watch basketball, but you just know things. And when you see the depiction of something and you buy a Red Bull and it's standing next to Marilyn Monroe, right? We tend to want to idolize that. So it's kind of like human nature. You know, I guess you just got to be smarter than that and cut out as much static as possible to really find out who you are. I don't know. And I wanted to also clarify one thing for the record and to win. Mr. O held his own on the block with Jen, for sure. I won over there because it's coming off like I got defeated and she changed me. No, I definitely won that debate, for the record.
See, watch it for yourself. That's all I'm going to say.
For the record. And the chat agreed. I had chat members agreed, so I had more points. So it was fun,
I just wanted to kind of address, because there was a couple of things that was in the chat. What's up, Juan? I appreciate you. I know I've noticed you have mentioned a few times, you were saying you were so frustrated by the conversation. Why so-called people black so obsessed with race? There's only one race. So here's the thing. In this situation, the conversation is about colorism. Even though it's something we may not ascribe to or subscribe to, it's something that exists. So we're about solutions. We're about solutions about good topics, but more important, solutions about the sticky topics, because the good stuff doesn't need solutions. We just want to figure out how it happened. It's kind of like cancer. Don't nobody like or want that shit. But a lot of people spend a lot of money trying to figure it out and try to figure out a way to stamp it out. So, you know, this is just our metaphorical cancer research to see what it is that caused it, why does it happen. It doesn't mean that we all subscribe to it.
Where it's like effective that we didn't talk about was like with the kids too. Like I remember like my daughter, like the kids would grow up in one neighborhood, and then my daughter she transferred to a more suburban area, and she was now around white kids, and she felt it was like 2 white kids per classroom in where she went to versus all black kids, and she felt lesser than those white kids. They wouldn't even play with her at recess, you know, and she would think that something was wrong with her hair because of the image. I do agree with it on that side. We never touched on that, but I've seen that.
Last week on Chef Chupino's Fatherhood Cognac.
But I remember almost every word he said verbatim. It stuck. It hung. And it wasn't a black man, it was a white man, but it was a man nonetheless. And I think it had a lot to do with his presence as a man in general before he ever said a word.
When they hear defunding, they think abolishing or completely removing all public funds. This is how they behave when they hear defund the police. But we've been defunding public education for years by just giving them less money and less resources and less tools for doing what they need to do. So that's the first problem. The first problem is on the government side, they need to go back to realizing that public education is a common good and that investing in public education gives you a return in society.
Someone fetch me my apron. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Someone